And good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to Going Nuclear, full-blown coverage of the land. I am Ethan Greenberg, and alongside of me is my co-host, Madison Delaney. Madison, how are you doing? How you feeling? It is opening night of the NFL season. Chiefs and Lions getting ready to do battle.
I feel a little cheated because we have to wait till Sunday. How the Lions got put, kind of, but I feel it's just still such a wait. But I mean, at least we get a game tonight, so that's good news. Looking forward to it. It'll be interesting without Kelsey tonight, but I'm sure the Chiefs will handle it. I would expect. How about you?
I am doing all right. It's been a short week. We had the holiday last weekend with Labor Day and all the fun going on here. Had a little COVID in the house, but everybody's all right. We're doing good. Nobody. It was like one person ill. Nobody else, caught it, and said person is past the positive point, and all is well here. So that's good, but it made for an interesting Labor Day weekend, not as necessarily as relaxing as you'd like it to be. So then you go back to work on Tuesday, and you're not in the greatest frame of mind, as it were. So I am definitely looking. I know it's only been a short week, and it's Thursday already. Tomorrow's Friday, and then we get to the weekend, and that'll be great. Looking forward to the Browns on Sunday, but at the same time, it's felt like a long week already. So I don't know. I know that was a really long answer and didn't go anywhere, but that's generally how my conversations go.
It's true. Short weeks end up the long weeks because then you got to make up for the day off you had at work. And in my
Yeah, that is certainly the case. I think that I am, pretty lucky. I am important, but not too important. So I don't see a ton coming in over the weekend, things like that. So it's all good. It is all good. And again, this is definitely an exciting time of year for Browns fans, for football fans across the country. Unfortunately, it's looking like for us Cleveland folk fans that the Guardians aren't going to be making any noise here and going to the postseason 6 games back with just over 20 games to go. And I don't think they're going to be able to come up with anything, losing 2 of 3 to Minnesota, and they really got hammered by the Twins, losing 20-6 the other night. That was pretty bad. That that was pretty awful.
Yeah, now we're doing the patchwork pitching, whereas before we we didn't really care so much about whether we pitched people into the ground. But we had to throw I can't what's his name? We had to throw the feeler. Um,
David Fry.
yeah,
David Fry. 4 innings of strong work. 4 innings of strong work.
whatever
I
it
mean, when you lose,
takes, I guess. But it's just there now. We've talked about it, for months now. Pitching the bullpen and the dirt, and now it's like can't get through. It's like okay.
right. It made it. I mean, on one hand, it doesn't make sense. On the other hand, it does. They were in such. It was such a destructive game.
Yeah.
There was no point whether we gave up one more run or 10 more runs. We weren't going to win. I mean, the percentages, the chances of us coming back and winning that game were as bad as, if not worse, than the Jets coming back to beat the Browns last season in week number 2 with less than 2 minutes to go, no timeouts, down by 2 scores. But we're not going to talk about that. We're moving on to 2023, the kickoff tonight, Kansas City and Detroit. And we're going to get to the NFL. We're going to get to the Browns here momentarily, folks. Thank you all for tuning in this evening. You can find us on our YouTube channel, Going nuCLEar CLE. Please like and subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and follow us on Facebook, etc. So last weekend was technically week 1 of the college football season. The Buckeyes got underway in Bloomington, and they took on the Indiana Hoosiers. It was our first chance to see Kyle McCord. The last time, or the only other time he started, was a couple of seasons ago in a home game when C.J. Stroud was ailing, had a shoulder ailment. He led the Buckeyes to a win over the University of Akron, and it was nothing. It was rather ho hum, and they won the game. It was fine. It was appropriate. You weren't really concerned because he was a young kid, and he was just in there for a spot start. So going into this season, the discussion had been leading up to it, who the starter would be, whether it was going to be uh, Kyle McCord or Devin Brown. And ultimately, it comes out, okay, I'm going to make Kyle McCord the starter. He is a year above Devin Brown, but he looked a little bit rough out there against the Hoosiers. I don't know how much of the game did you have an opportunity to even watch down there?
I caught most of the first half. Then I went to the Carolina Courage game here, so I had to leave
Nice.
around the second half, which is I think when they looked their best from the sounds of it. But yeah, I caught the first half, most of it.
Yeah, it was a struggle. It was definitely a struggle, and what concerned me even more was the inability to run on short yardage situations. There was a dude from Indiana, and I can picture the number. I believe it was number 44, and I think the last name was Casey, and he kept blowing up every short yardage situation. And I'm thinking to myself, what are these morons doing? Did they not get coached up on this? What, it makes no sense. What are they missing assignments? Or is it just great defensive design? Are we telegraphing our plays? Whatever the case may be, that was very disappointing because I think when you've got a young quarterback, the run game is your best friend. And it was pretty clear that Kyle McCord was missing a good friend out there in that game against Indiana. Yeah, Ohio State with a 23-3 win, great. That's good. But it does have me a little bit worried about what is to come. The good news is, got 2 more games against lesser opponents that the game should be wins.
Uh-oh. I think we have a power outage. That is not ideal. I mean, I can sit here and talk to myself. My concern with Ohio State is for sure Marvin Harrison looks not like he's not trusting his quarterback, which is not something that you want to see. We're back. I was just chit-chatting on my own about some Ohio State. I was saying my concern with Ohio State is like Marvin Harrison Jr. looks like he's not trusting the quarterback at all. Like he just like on his routes, he had some body language that made me concerned that he is worried about how this is all going to go.
And yes, that's a big concern. I know that, he had 2 receptions.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there weren't a lot of balls going around, so it wasn't like he was necessarily being ignored. But yeah, I'm concerned. I'm a little bit concerned. I'm not going to lie, but we've got these games coming up here against Youngstown State and against Western Kentucky, both at the Horseshoe. A great opportunity for the Buckeyes to iron some things out. Now, I do know, interestingly, I saw a report today, a post that indicated the NCAA or the officials acknowledge that they should have, in fact, reviewed that play when Harrison went out of bounds, came back in, caught the ball for a touchdown, and it was called back. They said because he stepped out of bounds. They said, hey, he had reestablished. They should have reviewed that from the booth. It should have been a touchdown. There was also a play, and oh my gosh, wouldn't you know it, an Ohio State player, Browns players, I don't know what the deal is. We can't get a targeting call. We can't get the helmet-to-helmet hit. And there was at least one that went against Ohio State that didn't get called on the field, should have gotten reviewed, and we didn't benefit from that. That being said, the Buckeyes are a work in progress. Certainly their youth shows on the offensive side, especially at quarterback, and they're going to have to work on that. I'm not sure how many, and I really should know this, should be better versed in this, as to how many of the front five, the offensive linemen, are freshmen or in their first season as starters. Because we had DeJuan Jones last year, Luke Whippler, a couple of really, really good offensive linemen, and it takes time to build into that. So we really shall see. But if they don't play better than they played at Indiana, when they get to Notre Dame and they get to later in the season when they're playing the rest of the Big Ten, I'm not going to just say, oh, Penn State and Michigan, because there are other challenges out there. I think that certainly Wisconsin could be a challenging game with Luke Fickell, and he obviously did a great job in Cincinnati, bringing that program up and getting them respectable, getting.
And we're down again. Live show. I think Ethan's got some storm going on up in Virginia, north of. Although that one, we didn't get a power flash. So it could just be. I need people to chat to.
Apparently, the crazy thing is, and folks out there, apologize for this. Madison, thank you very much for sticking through this. We rarely see power outages at this house, and I know I'm going to now jinx myself, but at the house we lived in previously, it was quite often in not even rainy conditions. Like you would sneeze and the power would go out. So this is a rarity. Of course, this is happening now. So apparently they don't want us to talk about the Buckeyes. Bottom line, I'm gonna just wrap it up here. We got reason to be concerned, but hopefully they'll work it out here. We'll check them out.
I hope this isn't a bad omen for the Browns game. Certainly just no positive. Definitely did jinx himself, though. Definitely did.
Okay. All right, that's it. We're gonna stop talking about Ohio State. Let's go. Folks, no, again, apologize for the continued video problems here. This is, this is ridiculous. I don't even get it. So moving forward, let's talk some NFL here, because quite frankly, that's what we need to move on to. It is a big time weekend here. Opening weekend of the NFL season. Tonight we kick it off with Kansas City and Detroit, and that ought to be a good one. But the Browns, they are getting ready to take on the Bengals on Sunday, and that should be a very, very good matchup. I don't want to oversell it, but how do you feel about the Browns going into this season's opener versus last season's opener at Carolina? Not as strong of an opponent, but under the circumstances of having Deshaun Watson suspended and Jacoby Brissett under center.
Yeah, I mean, there was a pretty heavy mental strain on that game going against Baker too, I think. So add that in there, and like going up against the Bengals, obviously. Like, I feel like they're like, oh, it's not a rival. What is it? Four of the whatever. But I've had their for the part, and I know last year I remember about it before the game the Bengals won. Like everybody stopped saying that. But I mean, I think you have to feel better with Watson at quarterback, and I know he's got a track record of not looking great in openings. I've heard that those stats thrown around, so that is a bit of a concern. But also taken Joe Burrow, but he didn't play in the preseason. He hasn't really been practicing until this week, or last week maybe it was. Who knows? But I mean, I think they have as good of a chance as they've had. I mean, the talent is there, and it's just whether they prove that the paper talent is actually as good as we think it is.
Yeah, I would say that I feel, even though we are playing a stronger opponent in the Bengals, I would have to kind of agree with you on that. That I feel better about going into this season's opener than I did about last season's opener, just from the perspective of, even if the Browns don't win the game, I feel like there's a lot more pieces to this puzzle already put together this season. I feel much more confident in the Jim Schwartz defense than I did the Joe Woods defense. And the offense, I think ultimately under Watson will look better. I think it's going to look different this year for Stefanski. He's obviously made the most out of all the quarterbacks he has coached, dating back to Minnesota, because Kirk Cousins is a certain type of quarterback. Case Keenum off the bench. He comes here with Baker Mayfield. He has to deal with, he works with Jacoby Brissett. He works again with Case Keenum. Even Nick Mullins looked good, in a game. So he has certainly made the most out of the quarterback talent he has had on the field. And hopefully he's had all offseason to concentrate on a game plan that is built around Deshaun Watson's strength rather than throwing somebody in there mid-season and changing up the entire offense that you've built around Jacoby Brissett. Last year was just a real cluster. And so on one hand, a lot of people are looking at and are nervous because they say Deshaun Watson did not look good in the 6 games he played for the Browns last season. On the other hand, you say, okay, now they're thinking that he didn't look so good. Maybe they're underestimating him. And this gives him an opportunity to kind of come out and, I don't know, maybe he catches some people off guard. I certainly did. I don't know if you heard the press conference that he held. I believe it was yesterday they were talking to him. And he spoke well. And I don't know if it's because he's getting more comfortable. Obviously, that from the time that the Browns signed him through the time of the suspension, even through all the way through the end of the season, that was an uncomfortable situation, a very uncomfortable situation. I think he's handling the interviews and the media opportunities much better now.
It is one thing to say it, and like that's right, always been the Browns thing is like, oh, we want to be the best defense in the league, and then we go out and put out the effort we put out last year, and he's like, oh, I don't want to be 2020 Watson, I want to be better than 2020 Watson, which is good. That's what you want him to say, but now it's time to hope that he can, and you hope that he does.
Right. It's not just about talking the talk; it's walking the walk. And that's really what the Browns have to do. Enough of the nonsense with the talk and not saying that we seem to have their numbers really, nonsense or talking the talk. It is what it is. But that's the past. That is the past. I think Joe Burrow has had enough experience. He's a talented enough kid that he shouldn't be seeing demons, but I don't know. I'm not a sports psychologist. He might come out against the Browns. Who knows if he comes out there and is worried about Myles Garrett getting past whether it's Orlando Brown or if they go over if they flip him to the other side, whoever it is, Jonah Williams, I believe, is the offensive lineman who got abused by Myles Garrett over the past couple of seasons. So one way or another, going to be up against either Za'Darius or Myles. And the way Schwartz seems to mix up his defensive coverages and move people around the line, it will be very interesting just to see if they can get the kind of pressure on Joe Burrow that they have in past matchups and how that really impacts him on the game or in the game on Sunday. I think that we've got a little bit of concern, obviously. Denzel Ward, we talked about it last week with a concussion. And right now, he was a limited participant yesterday, today, and no official word on where that puts him. But hopefully, signs are pointing in a direction that he is going to be able to play because we definitely need him. Juan Thornhill, though, limited in practice with a calf injury. Now, the nature of the injury was not discussed in anything that I read or any of the reporting I saw today. So that is, again, a little bit concerning because what's the strength of the Bengals? The passing game. It's not the running game. It's the passing game, whether they're going deep or they're running intermediate routes. That's where I'd be concerned. How concerned are you if either Ward and or Thornhill are unable to play?
I mean, it's obviously a bit of a concern. From Ward's perspective, like, he loves playing the Bengals. There's a good bit of trash talk that's gone between the two sides, the wide there in our DB room. So that is I think you can serve one of them being out. Like, I don't think it makes it impossible to get a win. One of the two out. I Juan Thornhill play and hope that they're being cautious just because we haven't really heard much on it. But I feel okay with the safeties we have. I mean, I think they like if then it's not terribly concerned. I expect both will probably play. And I am unrelated to those two, but I am hoping Newsome gets his first pick in this game on Sunday.
That certainly would be good. Obviously, the quotes coming out today, and just the media is asking him some things and talking about trash talk, and he's talking about, oh, I keep receipts and this, that, and the other. Well, I'd like to see some. For me, it's not necessarily about a pick. Would I love to see him get his first pick of his career? Absolutely. Hopefully the pressure up front makes those opportunities happen for him and for Denzel and other guys in the defensive backfield. That's what we could really hope for. So if things are all going right, that's quite a good possibility. I just don't want to see anybody for the Bengals this week or anybody else the rest of the season running wide ass open down the field. That was just that was just a cruel joke to see guys running that wide open last season. So we got that going on the defensive side of the ball. Everyone is still, according to what we're reading here in the media or hearing in the Cleveland media, it sounds like we haven't seen much out of the preseason of what we're going to see from the offense come get kickoff on Sunday. There's going to be wrinkles. There's going to be things going on. And I guess the question is, how is Stefanski going to be wise enough? He's a smart guy. Is he going to be wise enough to adjust his game plan and have better game management than he had in previous seasons?
Yeah, I mean, I think even from last year, I do not question his play and adjustment else does. I think most of the people have probably a tease for my going is him on fourth downs for a kicker that they didn't even like, like you didn't trust him to take a field goal, but you're like, we should have taken the points with that. But yeah, I mean, I feel good about it. I don't really have concerns about his play calling. I think he'll feel out the game. I don't think he's gonna like C-brain it. I think maybe is another concern some people have. But to your point earlier, right, he's made every quarterback for the most part look good under him. Like getting people open is kind of his bread and butter, and he's going to make it as easy as possible on the quarterback as he can to get Watson kind of settled in, I think. So I am not as concerned as most people are, but do you have some concern?
Well, I mean, to the extent that you don't have concerns about his play calling and and some of his judgment, I'm still a little bit leery, okay? Because as we talked about the Cade York situation, I think it goes even back even further than that. There are just times when he looks like he's so focused on his play calling sheet that from a body language perspective, you instantly go to that. He's not even paying attention. He has no idea what's going on. What are we doing? And you just don't see the urgency. One of the, words I would kind of use to describe him, and maybe it's not used in the right sense, is I think he's kind of unflappable. Can't do anything to shake this guy, or at least he doesn't show it, which can be a great thing. It can be a bad thing. I don't know. My concern is I just hope that, one example just came into my head last year that everybody questioned. After Deshaun came back, 4th and 1, and instead Jacoby Brissett comes in, and instead of going for the sneak, which he was very good at all season, they did like a play action. He threw to the end zone and it was incomplete. We turn it over on downs. I understand he's saying in his mind, look, the play was a good play call. The guy was open. It was a bad
It was
play.
open. He can't throw the pass too.
Well, I get it, but but don't you agree that when you look at the percentages and the analytics and the chance of something being successful, you vary in all those factors and you say, okay, am I more likely to rush for 1 yard than to have this guy complete a downfield pass? Are there more things that can go wrong on a downfield pass than if I'm simply pushing him across the, line of scrimmage to gain that extra yard? I don't know. I'm just saying that it's a tough, no matter what side you're on, it is a tough job to be a head coach. And it's easy for us to second guess, isn't it?
Yeah. Yes. I mean, at that point, I think everybody knew when Jacoby came in, it's a QB sneak on 4th and 1, or third string center, maybe 4th string center. I can't. So I don't have any. Again, it was open. It just, you got to make the throw. And I know people are like, well, put Watson in if you're going to throw it, but like you don't get
the same. It wouldn't have worked that way.
Yeah.
Right. And it's really a tough call. And again, that's why it's so easy for us as fans to sit back and second guess everything the coach does. When it goes right, when it doesn't go right. But at the end of the day, and this is kind of one of my overarching messages when we're talking about sports. We talked about it last week with Kevin Arnold, who joined us. We're all fans. We all want to see the team succeed, but people are so quick to get upset and then they get mad at each other for their differing views. It's like, we're in this together. This is a common goal. No matter whether you like a call or don't like a call, or like this player and don't like that player, all we want is for our team to win. Why are we turning against each other? Can't we all just get along?
No, that would be too easy.
It would be, and that's a problem. That's a major problem in all aspects of society, sports especially, but everything. Nobody, the common good. It doesn't matter. It appears most people are just willing to fight. They're just willing to fight. So I think we're going to see a lot of really good things, interesting things in the Browns-Bengals on Sunday. Certainly the special teams is going to be something to watch. Specifically, Dustin Hopkins, how's he going to handle the elements? I think he's going to be fine. I don't want to go into it scared. I think he's going to be okay, especially in that about 50 yards and in range. He's a seasoned veteran. I expect him to make a kick more times than not. Is he going to be perfect? No. But do I feel like I can trust him to go in and kick an extra point? I actually don't think I'm going to have to hide my face and peek through to see if it's going to go through the uprights. I feel like he should be able to do that. I don't get why it is become such a challenge for Cleveland Browns kickers to kick consistently, not just on the road, I'm not talking even only on the road too.
Yeah.
I don't get it. We've got some kind of a curse at the kicker position. I don't know what it is. And it's not the elf's fault. Okay. It is not the elf's fault. I like the elf. I think it's unique. It's a real middle finger to Art Modell. And that's all I got to say about that.
Before we move on, I want to know what the odds are, in your opinion, that Dustin Hopkins gets booed.
Sunday.
Yeah. If he misses one, it's coming out. There will be no.
I'm taking the under on that. He'd have to miss 2 kicks.
I think he has to miss
2 kicks. Yeah, 1 kick is okay. 2 kicks is going to be where I think the Browns are going to be. We have a little bit of fuel in the tank for him. We've got we're going to give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt. For Cade York, it was done. It was done. That guy had run out of chances. It was done.
Which kick, if he misses, it's going to be here we go again.
Yeah. Yes, you are 100% correct. So, okay, we're going to have
let's just not miss.
That would be good. That would be great. I completely concur with that. So this morning, I'm listening to the new morning show on ESPN Radio, and Chris Canty is on there. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to listen to this at all, but the woman, the young lady on the show, and I'm blanking on her name. I think it's Small, or the last name has something of that nature. But Chris Canty is talking to her, and apparently they were doing it's Christmas in whatever kickoff football, blah blah blah, and Chris Canty was wearing his Ravens helmet. And they were talking to her, and she was saying, well, I don't have a team, because she was and explained, I was a St. Louis fan, and, they Cranky took the team from St. Louis and moved it. And let's see, now I'm going to get her name so that I don't get this completely mess this up. It's just going to be, bother me if I don't. But her name is Michelle. And so Michelle was talking about not having a team. And I'm like, you're going to talk Chris Canty about stolen teams? Your team was a stolen team. Art Modell stole the Browns from Cleveland and took them to Baltimore. I don't want to hear nothing about teams and stealing and, root for get out of here. Get out of here. You seem to forget, sir, that your team was born because they stole you from Cleveland. And I guess for that matter, we need to go to the Colts and we need to say, hey, you guys stole Baltimore. So we got some problems in the NFL. Don't even, not good. So anyway, another question that came up going into the Browns game, and I just, want to hit this real quick here. Talking about, as we approach this game, Joe Burrow being injured and whether or not he was going to play. And I've heard this discussion that, the philosophy that you might want to play a team with all of its best players, or maybe if they're down a key player, is it a loser mentality, or fanning scared to want to get against a team without a star player?
No, I don't think so. I mean, a win is a win is a win. No one's going to really care. It's not like it's qualified at the end of the season. So I do think it's a little bit funny, because a lot of Browns fans have been like, we want Burrow. And I'm like, you think you want Burrow, but you don't really. I mean, he gives them a chance no matter what when he's on the field. And I get the track record, blah, 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 whatever his record is against the Browns. But he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the whole, to say I want to play, we don't even know. I don't even know who their backup is. That's how little I know about their quarterback. I know it's not anybody good. You had the chance to play him instead of Burrow. You take that 10 out of 10 times. I don't care how you win, just win. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, and that was my thought. In the grand scheme of things, it's more important to win than it is who's on the field. So if someone goes down, and it's, for your reference, it's Jake Browning.
Thank you.
Out of the University of Washington. That is their backup quarterback, Jake Browning. They didn't even keep Trevor Siemian. So they've got someone who is really unproven. I mean, who would you rather face, Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley? Right. Who would you rather have faced? Would you rather have faced Ben Roethlisberger, or would you rather have faced, Mason Rudolph or Devin Hodges? I mean, the choice is obvious. And at the end of the day, these are the breaks, and sometimes these things happen. Now, for me, I understand the argument, and the philosophy of, you're fanning scared. But you know what? At the end of the day, all I want is a win for my team. Because at the end of the season, we're going to say, all right, what's our final record? Did we make the playoffs? Are we moving on or not? And that one game could be the difference. So for me, I'm okay with it one way, either way, but I'm not going to say that that's a loser mentality. I'm not going to say that's fanning scared. I'm saying, hey, whatever gives me the best chance of winning. I want to have belief in myself that no matter who's on the field, as a team, we're going to win. And I think that's the key right there, is that they're confident in that whomever's under center for the opponent, or whichever star it is that could give us trouble, as long as our team has the mentality and the confidence to go in and win the game, that's what ultimately matters. But at the end of the day, it's about the win-loss records. It's a results-oriented business.
Yeah, it's like the Panthers with Cam Newton when they went undefeated for pretty deep into the season, and everybody's like, this is the worst undefeated team of all time. And it's like, who cares? The record's still undefeated. Like, that's the thing. And they made it to the Super Bowl. They probably should have won that one. We won't talk about it. But,
right.
It is what it is. It's just like, okay, sure, but the record is what the record is. So, there's no right. To it.
Well, I mean, look. Okay, so are the Golden State Warriors going to put an asterisk next to their first title right. because the Cavs were without Love and Irving?
Right, exactly.
Are the Raptors going to put an asterisk next to their title because Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant got injured? No. These are the breaks, and sometimes you get lucky and sometimes you don't. So when you get the luck on your side, you take it and you run with it.
Yeah,
you have to take advantage of it now. The fact that last year we got beat by Bailey freaking Zappi, yeah. We got demolished. And that was a winnable game. That was a game we should have won. The game, I mean, sad enough, Joe Flacco was the better option to beat us than Wilson. But at the time you were like, oh, he's a backup, he's old, whatever it is. But still, again, lose to that quarterback. Anyway, so I wanted your position on that or your thoughts on that because you are an athlete. You've been in games. You've had opponents where maybe there were injuries on their side or your side.
We won a championship when a player that started college broke her arm in the middle of our championship game, and we took that thing to overtime and was about taking the W.
Exactly. So yeah, that's good times there. So, in a pop culture question here, I've been seeing ads for it. You gonna be watching The Golden Bachelor?
Oh God, I saw a TikTok. The Bachelor and Bachelorette franchise has a pretty terrible past at evaluating people that go on that show and like overlooking some of the terrible things that they have done. And I have already heard rumors about the Golden Bachelor doing some terrible things. So I don't know if I will. I've typically have watched the past season or two, maybe. When they strung them all back to back to back, I think it was overload for me, and I need a good solid break from that show.
Yeah, I only asked because I knew you had in the past watched the show. But yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's something that's it's just so superficial, and the chances of success are so minimal. And I enjoyed it when they did the show, like kind of a variance on it, Average Joe on NBC. They did that show Average Joe and had an kind of just regular person, not this supermodel attractive guy or girl or whatever it is. It was very interesting. All right, without further ado, let's go around the NFL, and I'd like to make this, or hopefully we can make this a weekly segment here. We can give our picks and see who fares best. And so let's start it off here, Madison. First game of the season, kickoff tonight. The Detroit Lions visiting Arrowhead Stadium, taking on the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. Kansas City leads the series 9-5 overall all time. They've won the past two. The last time they played in the regular season, a bit of a shootout. Kansas City 34, Detroit 30 and that game was in Detroit. And this would be, I don't know if you know this stat, and this might sway you a little bit, okay?
Okay.
The Chiefs could become the fifth team in the Super Bowl era to win 9 straight season opening games, and defending Super Bowl champs is 15-4 in week 1 games over the past 19 seasons. So with that in mind, Kansas City and Detroit, who you got?
I am not going to change pick I don't, although it is a concern. I just don't fully trust the Lions yet. I am super excited to see Jahmyr Gibbs, though. I am interested to see how he looks and how they use him because he is claiming to be. We shall see, but I got a reigning champ, I think. Who's your pick?
All right. All right. So, yeah, Jahmyr Gibbs, he was selected in the first round, number 12 overall in this past spring's 2023 NFL draft. Jared Goff obviously had a heck of a run last year. The Lions did not make the playoffs, but they did knock out the Packers and eliminate them from the playoffs. I am also going to go with the Chefs, despite the fact that they are without Kelsey tonight and they are without Chris Jones, as he is in the contract disputes and whatnot. Moving on, Sunday, your hometown Carolina Panthers visiting the Atlanta Falcons. Last season, both teams finished 7-7 in the NFC South. So, Panthers at Falcons. Madison, who you got?
The Panthers O-line is pretty terrible. I think young time for his life. So even though I don't love the Falcons, I think I'm taking the Falcons at home.
All right, you're going to take the Falcons at home. And I initially was looking at it, and this is one of the games I told you, Madison, that I went back and I thought about it a little bit further after kind of reading some of the stats, thinking about where the game was being played. And I initially was going to go with Carolina, just not having much faith in Atlanta. But after thinking about it a little bit further, looking at the fact that the game is being played in Atlanta, I have even less faith in the Panthers. So I am also going to go with the Atlanta Falcons over the Carolina Panthers. Also, 1:00 on Sunday, the Texans and rookie quarterback CJ Stroud visit the Ratbirds in Baltimore. And Lamar Jackson will be back on the field. All the contract disputes have been resolved. And apparently he's not going to be stuck in the bathroom and will be able to be out there the whole time. I mean, I know that OBJ got put on the injury list with an ankle. I'll go first on this one. I am going to go with the Ravens. Madison, what say you? Who you got?
Yeah, I feel like it's got to be the Ravens. I mean, I think Houston's going to struggle. It's a first-year coach, first-year quarterback, so we'll probably see the Ravens pick up a win. Although I wouldn't hate to see the Texans surprise.
Oh no, absolutely not, absolutely not. I completely agree. All right, and we will save the Browns and the Bengals till last here. Up next, last year, a surprise turnaround under Doug Peterson. The Jacksonville Jaguars finished 9-8, and with an amazing comeback in wildcard weekend at home over the Los Angeles Chargers. They were down 27-0 in the game and came all the way back to win. I don't know if that's more so credit to Jacksonville or more so just a resounding horrible Coach Staley coach team over there in Los Angeles. But the Jags are going to be at the Colts with their rookie quarterback, Anthony Richardson. So Madison, who you got?
I will take the Jaguars on the road, although I am also excited to see Anthony Richardson. I hope he has a couple good games so I can flip him in my Dynasty League for some wide receiver running back help.
Okay. Yeah, I couldn't, under any circumstances, pick the Colts. I have zero faith in them. They could be one of the worst teams in the NFL this season, and they're going to be right at the back at the top of the draft next spring. Yeah. So I am also going to go with Jacksonville. Then we've got Tampa Bay at Minnesota. Minnesota last year, an impressive 13-4, and they managed to take a dump in the playoffs, as per the usual. Tampa Bay, 8-9, Tom Brady's last season. They managed to win their division under 500.
It's a bad division.
And yeah, they were rather unimpressive. And this year, they've got your friend and mine, Baker Mayfield. He won the starting competition over Kyle Trask, who has like zero experience, yet he had to fight him for that position. So that's kind of sad. I'll just go first here. I'm going to go with Minnesota.
Yeah, no, I fully agree. Better, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll see how many commercials he does. All right, next up at the 1 o'clock hour, the Tennessee Titans, still led by Ryan Tannehill, taking on the new look New Orleans Saints with Derek Carr at quarterback. They will not have Alvin Kamara as he is, serving a suspension right now. Don't know how Michael Thomas is going to look. So we've got Titans at Saints. Madison, who you got?
I think this is a bit of a toss-up. I think they're going to be better, the Saints, with Derek Carr. So I think Saints at home, even with Kamara. That's a good point. Though I took that into account when I was thinking about it on there. So we'll see how he is.
Yeah, that would be good. Yeah, Tennessee struggled last season, and I'm not convinced by the quarterback play of Ryan Tannehill. I did in fact pick New Orleans, and I can't even talk myself out of it. I just feel like New Orleans is a better team than the Titans. Would it surprise me though if Mike Vrabel led his team down there and they won against Dennis Allen? The Dennis Allen led Saints. No, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the Titans pulled off that victory. Moving on, 1 o'clock from Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh. It's the 49ers at the Steelers. The 49ers will have the services of one Nick Bosa. Good to hear. And Pittsburgh coming off, again, an above 500 season for Coach Mike Tomlin, finished 9-8, and they appear to be all healthy. Kenny Pickett under center. Madison, who you got?
Pickett is all the rage with his stellar preseason performance. But I don't think he's going to have a very fun day dealing with the Niners D-line. So I will go Niners.
All right. I also am going to go with the Niners on that one. At least I'm hoping that. I'm hoping I'm not just pulling that one out of my rear end or, going with my heart versus my head there. I feel like even though it's not a pretty offense that Kyle Shanahan necessarily runs, it's not, lots of deep passes or anything like that. I think Brock Purdy does an excellent job, and that defense is very strong. I really don't have that much faith as of this moment in Kenny Pickett, although I'm not, as we talked about maybe about a week ago, I don't want to sleep on the Steelers because I think they're still going to be at 500. Maybe they'll finish 9-8 again. Moving on. Arizona Cardinals at the Washington Commanders under new ownership and under starting quarterback Sam Howell. The Commanders finished 8-8 last season with a platoon of quarterbacks. Now Jacoby Brissett is the backup to Howell. The Cardinals will not have Kyler Murray, even though he is named a captain. And as of right now, I don't believe the coach has actually announced the starting quarterback, but it appears it's going to be former Cleveland Brown Joshua Dobbs. Madison, who you got?
It's tank season. You can go Washington.
Yeah, that's a pretty easy call. I'm going Washington as well. I do think they are going to get that win. Next up, we've got a tough game. This one, I think we might actually go opposites on this. I'm not sure. Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. This will be the Packers under Jordan Love, no longer Aaron Rodgers. The Bears last season just 3-14, but once again, Justin Fields at the controls, got some weaponry, got DJ Moore out there. I don't know. It's going to be a tough call. It is at Chicago. Madison, who you got?
I am going Bears, I think in no small part due to DJ Moore. He somehow pulled out some decent numbers with some pretty questionable quarterback play. I think Justin Fields will be much better for him. I think they'll use him in a lot of ways. So got to go Bears.
Well, I have once again, I am also choosing the Bears. This is crazy. There was no collaboration here. No collaboration at all. This was done independently. No, I am starting to wonder, and this will be the theme throughout the season for Green Bay. Is Matt LaFleur a good head coach or not? Was his success only because of Aaron Rodgers? How will he do with a non-Hall of Famer as his starting quarterback? We don't know how good Jordan Love is going to be, but this is really going to be a test for Matt LaFleur. See if he can see how he does with a new man at the controls. Next up, the Las Vegas Raiders at the Denver Broncos. Madison, who you got?
I am going Raiders. I think that one could be a bit of a toss-up. I'm just not sure I trust Russell Wilson in a Broncos uniform yet, even, which can change. So I will go Raiders.
Well, I took into account the fact that this game is in Denver. I don't love Sean, I'm not in love with Sean Payton as much as some people are. I'm not in love with Russell Wilson, but I do think the home field advantage. I don't have that much faith in Josh McDaniels and Jimmy Garoppolo. So I did in fact select the Denver Broncos, and we have our first the first one where we did not pick the same team. Okay, next up, this is another good one at 425. I think this is this is not the headline game, but they got some good ones at 425. Miami Dolphins head all the way to the West Coast to visit the LA Chargers. Miami with Tua, Chargers with Justin Herbert. Madison, who you got?
I am going Dolphins, and I think we kind of touched on it a little bit with the Chargers when we were talking about with the Jaguars earlier. I just don't trust their staff in LA, so I got to go Miami on that. I just think they're going to be a little bit more prepared. Although I think Waddle's got an injury designation, although I'm assuming he'll probably play, but I'll go Miami.
All right. I initially had Miami, but after reconsidering and looking at the stats for the Chargers, I feel like this should be they won. They played a game last season in December. I'm not sure if Tua played or not. I didn't get that far into it. I saw it the last minute. And so I am going to go actually with the Chargers. It's a regular season game. I think they might pull something out. I don't necessarily love Coach Staley or the hype machine that's going on there, but I did pick the Chargers. Next up in the 425 slot, the defending NFC champion Philadelphia Eagles head to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. Madison, Eagles at Patriots, who you got?
I gotta take the Eagles for sure. I'm not Belichick. I'm still taking the Eagles.
Yeah, that's pretty easy call there. I'm not even going to go in any great detail. I just think that the Patriots, they may surprise us because they will be a well-coached team. The question is, how far can Mac Jones take them? Will they be able to, will he be able to create some magic? Because they have just been phenomenal on defense the past couple of seasons. Give a lot of credit there. Definitely give a lot of credit, but they're going to need something to get over the top. Next game on the docket, the LA Rams at the Seattle Seahawks. Madison, who you got?
I will take the Seahawks at home. Anytime they're playing at home, I generally want to trust them, so we'll take them at home.
Yeah, I also took them at home. I think the Rams are in a rebuild mode. They went all in. They got themselves a Super Bowl. There's obviously the issues with Matt Stafford's still a very good quarterback, but certainly, according to his wife, there's some communication and connection issues between Stafford and some of the younger players on the team, allegedly.
I was hoping that was satire. Is that really?
Apparently it is. Apparently she went on she was on a pod. She did her podcast.
Why would she air that out? I don't understand.
I really don't know. You don't really want to air out your dirty laundry, even if he's just saying it in passing. Yeah, that wasn't so good there. That was not so good. All right. So again, we will save the Browns and the Bengals for last. Sunday night football. The Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. Who you got, Madison?
This is another one I think is a bit of a toss-up. I went New York, though. I think maybe a little surprising. You like the Cowboys? I think they'll be fine. But, I mean, it's the NFC, like, you pretty much just log and chew gum, and I think you'll make the playoffs. But I'll go Giants.
Yes, I also chose the Giants just because I think that they're playing at home, and I don't trust pardon me, I'm having a tongue-tied moment here. Dak Prescott, I don't trust him.
Yeah.
As good as he came out in the first couple years of his career, he kind of caught people by surprise. And he's had injuries, and he's kind of had a problem with throwing interceptions, and I just don't have a lot of faith in Dallas. Mike McCarthy either. He may have won a Super Bowl in Green Bay, but I am ye of little faith there. So I also picked the Giants, although I don't have a lot of faith in them either. We'll see how it goes in the overall grand scheme of things. Monday Night Football. The Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen visit the New York Jets and Aaron Rodgers. Madison. Buffalo and New York Jets. Who you got?
I have Buffalo, despite some of their offseason problems with Diggs and the drama and all that. And I know people are thinking they may have missed their window. I think they're going to come because of all the hype that's been on the Jets. And I also don't like the chances of the Hard Knocks team starting out with the win. I think.
I have also chosen the Bills. And maybe there's a little bit of logic involved. I just think the Bills are going to are a better team. As good of a player as Aaron Rodgers is, I don't know that he can solve for all of the problems that the Jets have. And I don't know that it's necessarily all on the field. I think off the field, locker room, I think there's some questionable stuff there. I think that the Jets overall are probably going to be just as good. They'll at least hit the 7-win mark that they hit last season. How much more, if it's better than 9-8, maybe 10-7 is what I'm thinking. They are in a tough division, taking on the Bills. The Patriots are going to be a tough out, and taking on the Dolphins as well. That's going to be tough. But I also went with the Bills. So far, our only two games where you and I have not chosen the same. You have chosen Las Vegas over Denver, and you have chosen Miami over the Chargers. So we shall see how those come out. And the last game on the docket, folks, as we get ready to kick things off, can the Browns win a back-to-back openers for the first time since 1993-94? Madison, it's the burning question everyone wants to know the answer to. Bengals at Browns from Cleveland Browns Stadium with the elf on the 50-yard line. Who you got?
I think we're going to find out real quick how healthy Burrow's calf is. I think he's going to be running for his life most of the day. I think the defense is going to play really well. I think the offense will do enough. Do I think they'll really stellar out the gate? I don't know about that. I hope they do. But I think they do enough to get the win. I will go Browns.
All right. That was an excellent analysis there. I have also picked the Browns. There are going to be weeks where I'm not going to pick the Browns and not feel good about it. But I feel like this team showed some good progress during the preseason. Although they didn't score from the 1-yard line on a couple of drives, they were also handing it off to John Kelly. They didn't have Nick Chubb play at all. The defense looked really, really good. and hopefully both Ward and Thornhill will be able to play. I really like the veteran leadership that Thornhill and Rodney McLeod bring to the team. Those were great acquisitions in the offseason to the back end on the front four to add guys to the line like Dalvin Tomlinson, Zadarius Smith. I know he's not up higher on the depth chart, but Shelby Harris, he's going to be good as well. Siaki Ika, I really like what they've done to make the defense more stout. Jim Schwartz ought to be the difference. I feel better about Dustin Hopkins coming in as the kicker, just from him having all the experience that he does have. And for that reason, I will also choose the Cleveland Browns to win. And with that, it is now time when we tell everybody what has us going nuclear this week. So, Madison, why don't you tell everybody what has you going nuclear?
Yeah, I mean, I touched on it earlier. There's so many people calling into radio stations talking about the play calling of Kevin Stefanski, and I don't see how logically you get there when you consider the fact that like these people also don't think Baker's a good quarterback, didn't think Jacoby was a good quarterback. Like he had Jacoby in a top 10 offense. He took Baker playoffs. Like the players outside the system have not done anywhere near that. He's scheming guys over time. I think a lot to do with the fourth down calls, the going for it versus kicking a field goal and taking the points. And we, as mentioned earlier, you guys also don't like work. That's no longer. So like maybe the approach is different. Maybe it's not. We'll see how it goes. Like you're asking for a kicker who, I don't know what his percentage was. I know it wasn't good last year to take a 3 points as if that's a real with Cade York. So like, I need everybody to take a step back, consider the full picture. Like we're talking about play calling for a guy who's never had a quarterback like Watson, yet has had a top 10 offense, has also won Coach of the Year, and has also gone to the playoffs with quarterback play is less than stellar outside of the Brown there. So that's my point. I just wish people would like take a second to realize that, I think it was all on him. I mean, he's got his faults, I'm sure. He certainly, but I don't calling is one of them. Like offensive mind wise, he's a very smart dude, and I think he calls. So I just need people. Let's not go on play calling in the first quarter on Sunday, please.
All right, and that's going to happen.
I know
that when they. As soon as there's one play call that goes awry, that is what is going to happen across social media. I'm going to try to not be paying attention to that and just trying to enjoy the game. Thank you, Madison, for telling us what has you going nuclear this week as we head toward the kickoff to the NFL season. So for me, what has me going nuclear this week? I talked earlier about all of us Cleveland fans. We're all hoping for the same thing. Why are we fighting with each other, right? Well, on the opposite side of the argument here, I have been subjected to things on my social media feed of Browns fans fighting with Bengal fans. Mm-hmm. I don't care if it's the Browns versus the Bengals, the Steelers, the Ravens, whoever it is. Why do you engage these people? Why must you get into these idiotic arguments? If I make a comment and then somebody trolling me comes on and makes some stupid retort, I'm going to ignore it. I'm not going to buy into it and get into a dumb argument. I can't believe people have that much time to waste, that they can sit there and argue with fools, because they're obviously not going to listen to you and they're not going to hear your argument, no matter how valid it is, about how many times the Browns have won championships versus the number of times that the Bengals have been to a Super Bowl. I mean, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. Stop engaging with opposing fans. I know it's such a fun thing to do, but there are so many better things that you could be doing with your time. Quit getting into it with opposing fans. It's just so ridiculous. It's like siblings that pick on each other. Don't give into it. You can't give into it. I would just love if Cleveland Browns fans, if any of our Cleveland fans could take the higher ground. Let's not get into it with these folks. They're looking to start something. Don't be the one to react. Let them get the 15-yard penalty for taunting. Don't push back. Don't taunt back. And that is what has me going nuclear today. So, folks, do want to thank you for sticking with us. Madison, thank you for sticking it out here. Apologize for the power outages here as the weather turned a bit stormy and caused a couple outages at the beginning of the hour. And well, it'll be interesting. We'll have a fun recap of what happened in the Browns game next weekend. We'll talk about Ohio State. We'll see how our picks came out and see who came out on top. And that is going to do it here for tonight. So, Madison, thank you very much. For Madison Delaney, I am Ethan Greenberg, and you have been watching Going nuCLEar, full-blown coverage of